The cornfields rustled like whispering ghosts. Sheriff Mara Jennings pulled her cruiser onto the gravel drive of the old Bellamy farmhouse just as the sun cracked the horizon. Dawn was an orange bruise along the tree line, and mist clung low across the fields, dense and milky, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. The house stood at the end of the lane, dark and sullen. Its once white paint had faded to a sickly gray. Porch railings sagged like old bones. A wind chime dangled in the breeze, turning slowly, but not making a sound. That silence, unnatural and complete, struck her harder than any scream might have. The 911 call had come in just before midnight. A landline. No voice. No words. Just 30 seconds of silence, and, right at the end, a single noise, the soft, unmistakable creak of a door being shut. No return number. No ID. Just that sound. Now, Mara stepped out of her cruiser, boots crunching over gravel. Her hand hovered near the grip of her sidearm as she approached the porch. Something about this place, the stillness, the shadows, put her on edge. Harold had been shot at close range. Clean, surgical. But the pistol was on his left side. And Harold Bellamy, she knew for a fact, was right-handed. She'd seen him at the town gun range, pulling tight groupings with that steady right hand of his. And the back door? Closed, yes. But not locked. She stepped over to it and eased it open. No resistance. No scratch marks on the frame. No forced entry. Whoever had done this. Harold had let them in. Or they had already been inside. Her eyes drifted toward the pantry. The shelves were stocked neatly, rows of canned peaches, green beans, bags of flour. But something about them felt off. Too orderly. Like a stage set. She jotted a note in her pad. Scene feels staged. Killer familiar with victim? No forced entry. Pistol placement suspicious. She stood and scanned the kitchen again. A mug still sat on the table, coffee half finished, the surface stilled to a dark mirror. An old clock ticked on the wall, each second a hammer in the hush. The whole house felt like it was waiting. Waiting for her to see what was really going on. Barrow Creek was the kind of town where secrets took root deep, like weeds in the soil. A town where everyone waved, everyone smiled, and everyone noticed when someone didn't belong. Harold Bellamy had lived here all his life. Ran his father's corn farm after the old man passed. No wife. No kids. Kept to himself. A Vietnam vet, folks said. Quiet. A little odd, maybe, but harmless. Reliable as rain. At noon, Mara stood on the sagging porch of a house across the road, notebook in hand. Miss Trudy Parnell, white hair in curlers, thick bifocals, poured 2 lukewarm glasses of sweet tea and set one down on the rail. Harold didn't talk much, Trudy said, peering into the misted fields. But he always waved when he drove past. Like clockwork. Never missed a Sunday at service neither. Sat in the back row. Didn't sing. Just listened. Mara nodded. Anyone visit lately? Trudy squinted. Not unless you count the drifter. That got Mara's attention. What drifter? Trudy leaned in, voice hushed like the corn could hear. Boy. Young. The Bellamy pantry yielded more than canned peaches. Behind a tall stack of supplies, Mara discovered a narrow wooden seam. A false back. She moved the shelf aside with a grunt and found it, a hidden door. Old hinges. Small, square handle. She pulled it open. It creaked. Exactly like the sound on the tape. Stale air rushed out, thick with mildew and thyme. She switched on her flashlight and descended the narrow staircase, boots thudding softly on old wood. The cellar was small, musty. Cobwebs hung like lace in the corners. But someone had been here recently. A cot, neatly made. An empty thermos. A backpack, faded and frayed. A single bulb overhead, burned out long ago. She opened the backpack. Inside, a water-stained Bible. A folding knife. And a photograph, creased at the edges curling from wear. 2 boys. By dusk, the fog had burned away, leaving the fields golden and quiet. Too quiet. Mara returned to the Bellamy property with Deputy Carson, a wiry man with a coffee addiction and a stubborn jawline. They moved through the house with care. Nothing had shifted. No new prints. No disturbances in the pantry. But the cellar told a different story. "Someone's been sleeping down here," Carson said, frowning at the cot. "Not Harold. You think this is that missing Price kid?" Mara nodded. "Callum. 10 years old when he vanished. Now he'd be 26. Explains the limp. The boy, well, man now, sat in an exam room at the county clinic, wrapped in a blanket, sipping Gatorade with shaking hands. Mud crusted his jeans. A jagged scar ran from behind his left ear to his collarbone. He looked up as Mara entered. His eyes were sunken, guarded, tired. "You Callum?" she asked gently. He nodded. "You've been staying at the Bellamy place?" "Yes, ma'am." She pulled up a chair. "Tell me what happened." Callum hesitated. "Then, he was my uncle. Harold. After our dad died, Jesse took off. Got into bad stuff. Drugs. People looking for him. And Harold? He found me in Omaha. I was 15. The corn was thick this time of year. 10 feet tall in places. Easy to hide. Easy to lose your way. Easier still to bury the truth. Mara and Carson moved quickly, rifles slung. The dogs, 2 German shepherds, swept ahead, muzzles low to the ground. Half a mile in, the trail split, 1 set of boot prints veered left. Another, smaller, went right. "Split up," she said. "You take the left. I'll follow this." The sun dipped low as Mara pressed forward. The stalks closed behind her like a curtain. Then she heard it. A breath. A twig snap. Too close. She spun. And Jesse Price stepped into view. Pale. Gaunt. Dead eyes. In his hand, the .22 pistol. "You don't want to do this," she said, steady. He didn't speak. Just raised the gun. A crack rang out. But it wasn't his. Jesse collapsed, blood blooming at his shoulder. Behind him stood Callum. Jesse Price survived. He was transferred to county lockup. Would face charges for Harold's murder, despite the murky truth behind it. Mara didn't buy it. Not fully. Forensics later revealed 2 sets of prints on the pistol, Jesse's and Callum's. 1 on the trigger. 1 on the barrel. But no one could say who fired it first. In the end, it was Callum's word against his brother's. No one spoke of Harold's war past. The government sealed those files again within days. Callum left town the next week. Didn't say where he was going. Just disappeared. Barrow Creek returned to its routine. The corn grew taller. The wind returned. And somewhere, buried beneath all that quiet, was a truth no one wanted to dig up. Thanks for listening to Where the Corn Grows Tall. Woman Detective. If you enjoyed this mystery, leave a like, share with fellow detectives, and subscribe for more stories that dig beneath the surface.